Hello, everyone. We're going to give everyone a few minutes to just log on and then we'll get started. I hope everyone is having an amazing Thursday. I'm super excited to be here talking to you all. We'll give everyone about 2 to 3 minutes just to roll in. And then we will get started. And as people are joining, if you have any questions, you can definitely leave them in the chat section and we will get to all questions at the end. So if you have any questions that come up as I'm going through this webinar, just drop them in the chat and we'll definitely go over them. We'll just give everyone about 2 more minutes and then we'll get started at 11:03. I know everyone is busy. We don't want to hold anyone up. Few more minutes, 1 more minute, and then we will get started. And like I said, if you have any questions that cross your mind as I'm talking, be sure to leave them in the chat and I will answer all questions at the end. Just a few more seconds and then we will get started. Okay, so let's just get started. Welcome everyone. I'm super excited to be hosting this webinar on increasing your tenant retention. I know the apartment world has been in, well, the multifamily world has been in quite a frenzy. With COVID, leases and vacancies, property managers like yourself have been in a tizzy really trying to pull it together and work with tenants as things come up. And I know a lot of you have been dealing with now the dealing of the COVID leases. So we're going to go over 6 simple ways to really make your residents want to stay. I know we're entering into this post-COVID society, and as we do that, we definitely want to retain the tenants that we got over the COVID period or the pandemic period. So our first thing that we want to talk about is offering fair renewal prices. So right now we're seeing a bit of rental gouging. It's really at an all-time high. And I think that's really important to remember that your tenants want to be able to say that they either kept the pricing that they got in COVID or you're not going up 3 times the amount that we're seeing right now. A lot of tenants are seeing price gouging. A lot of tenants are dealing with the rental prices just being enormously high. And I understand a lot of landlords like yourself are trying to really recoup the money that was lost over the pandemic and really get to pre-COVID prices. But I think one thing that's really going to stand out and show your residents that you care is offering a fair renewal price. So if you can go just below market rate, that is the sweet spot you want to be at. But if you need that extra cash flow and you need to recoup, okay, there are other ways to really incentivize your tenants, but really offering them fair renewal prices is key to retaining them. A lot of tenants are renewing their COVID lease renewals right now, and offering a fair price will definitely stand out, especially in a market where people are charging up to almost 10 times the amount they were pre-COVID. So I think that's something that's very, very important when you're trying to retain the tenants that you got, and also filling those vacancies. Offering a fair renewal price or a fair price in general will definitely help you fill those vacancies of apartments that were open for a very long time. Really staying below or at that market rate is definitely going to give you a competitive edge when trying to retain or attract new tenants. So let's say you're not in the financial setting to really offer a below market rate right now. Let's say you're not there 100%. So let's offer some lease renewal incentives. Maybe you can offer utilities included, a discounted pet rent, maybe free access to the amenities in the building for a month or for the entire year. Really giving the tenant an incentive at that lease renewal process, even if it's not price incentive, it could really help them or make or break that lease signing. It's very, very important to provide them with some type of incentive to make them want to stay, to show them that they're a valued tenant with your building and that you don't want to lose them. And that could really be the difference. And also it could be something as simple as offering digital leases, not having to have them go through the process of filling out paperwork, dropping off paperwork, having to sign physical documents. You can offer them such a digital leasing where all they have to do is read, click, and sign. It's as simple as that. And a lot of tenants are really going to appreciate that digital process as well, because it makes a lease renewal process streamline. It makes it easier. It makes it less of a headache on both ends. And as many of you know, Manage Go, we just released our leasing feature, which features digital leasing. And there's a lot of benefits to digital leasing as well. But offering lease renewal incentives to tenants is a good way to really get them to really want to sign and stay with you as a property manager. So another thing we want to talk about is using a maintenance ticketing system. So I think this one is the most important. There will be two that I think are very, very, very important. And offering a maintenance ticketing system is the biggest one of them all. And the reason that is, maintenance can be really a major turnoff to a tenant if it's handled poorly. So for instance, if a tenant is waiting a week to get something fixed in their apartment, that could really harm your tenant retention. This could be really bad for your tenant when they say, well, why do I want to live here when it's taken a week for them to fix my sink, or it's taken them a month to come and just look at the light fixture that's been broken. So using a maintenance ticketing system kind of streamlines the support of all of this, especially with your team. So it allows for more internal communication, which will then allow for better communication with your tenants, which then allows for better overall experience from the maintenance side and the tenant side. Because now your maintenance team can better manage the requests that are coming in. They can set the priority for the requests that they have. And also the tenants can see that the things that they need done are getting done. And for the tenant, the tenant sees that problem as their only problem. As a landlord, you have a lot of problems to deal with. You have a lot of maintenance issues to deal with. But for that tenant, that broken light fixture is number one. It's priority. And using a maintenance ticketing system allows you to show the tenant that your problem is priority to me. It matters to me, and that it's getting done, while also making sure that on the back end, you have better internal communication among your maintenance teams. You can even create test checklists, you can create task schedulers, You could do a lot of things that helps your maintenance team better manage the requests that are coming in. So when you think about what will be the deciding factor when a tenant goes to stay or leave, how does the maintenance team work for me? How does the maintenance team work in general? Are they effective? Do they communicate properly? Are they on schedule? Do they ask me what things are happening in my apartment? When they come in, how do they respond to me? How effectively are they working? A maintenance system can really make or break your tenant retention. And it's very, very important to have a maintenance ticketing system, such as ManageGo. We have an extensive maintenance ticketing system that really allows for your maintenance team to form that communication with your tenants, to really show them that these things are getting done. There's no lack of management here. We care about the broken sinks in your apartments. We care about the broken light fixture in your apartment, and that this is getting done. You're not going to have to live with this. And I think that's very, very important, especially now as people are spending more time at home. They don't want to deal with a broken light. They don't want to see a broken light every day. They don't want to deal with a broken sink every day. They want to really be able to enjoy the home that they're in. And a maintenance ticketing system is definitely going to help you help them. So the next thing we want to talk about is maintaining property appearance. So you might think this one is just very, oh, it's not important. I don't need to put as much effort into this as I probably may need to put into other things, but you do. Maintaining your property appearance can really, it shows the residents on a visual level, this is where my rent is going to. This is where I'm paying for. And especially if you're dealing with luxury Class A buildings, they want to make sure that the landscaping is done, that the paint jobs are fresh, that the floors are mopped, that the carpet is vacuumed, that everything looks neat and in order. The grass is green, the flowers are blooming. They want to make sure that what they live in and what they're walking into is maintained. It looks nice. It's a visual aspect of knowing that my rent is being put to the upkeep of my building. And yes, as a property manager and as a landlord, you obviously have to allocate that money to other things as well. But for the tenant, this is what they see. This is what is priority for them. They want to be able to visually see where their money is being put. And maintaining the property appearance is definitely a way to retain and show tenants that this is where your rent is going. So mainly putting a budget aside to say every month, we're going to make sure this is done. Every month, we're going to make sure the landscapers come in at this time. We'll do a routine checkup. We'll have a cleaning team that comes in and make sure the lobby is well maintained. These things are very, very important. So it could also be the difference of saying, do I want to keep walking past this leak every day that's been in the hallway for a month? Or do I just want to find a new building to live in that's going to properly maintain itself? And it's also a reflection as you, as a landlord, as a property manager, how do you upkeep your building? It says a lot to the tenant, because then it also says to the tenant, well, this is how you're going to treat me as a tenant. If you can upkeep your building and take care of your building, you'll upkeep and take care of me as a tenant. It's more visual. It's more of the ethos effect, where they're saying, if you can do this, you can also take care of me. And while it may seem very small, it may seem very minuscule, but it's very important when retaining a tenant, especially tenants that live in luxury buildings. And even tenants that live in regular apartment buildings, you still want to make sure you're maintaining the appearance of the property. Just because it's not a Class A luxury building does not mean the appearance of it does not matter. And this can really decide or make or break a lease for a tenant, especially at signing. When you send out that lease and they say, well, the leak has been going for a month, and then this building doesn't have any leaks, I think I'm going to sign with this building. So you really want to maintain that property appearance, because you never know where your residents are on that signing process. So the next thing we want to talk about is keeping the tenant happy. but don't overextend. So as a property manager, let's say you have a tenant who is perfect. They pay their rent on time. They have no problems with their neighbors. They don't give your maintenance team a hard time. They are just an overall good tenant. So let's say they happen to have let's say COVID has happened. They're furloughed. They are slow on income for the next 3 months. They reach out to you and they say, hi, I know I've been good. I've paid my rent every single month on the 1st, but I've just recently hit a hard time and need some help or some leniency. You as a property manager to this specific tenant should grant that leniency, but within boundaries. Let's say you set a boundary for 3 months. At 3 months, you are at the number of where you're back on track at paying it between the 1st through the 5th, and that's where that's going to happen. So you give that tenant 3 months to really do and get themselves back on track. This shows the tenant, one, that you care. It shows the tenant that they're value to you. It also shows the tenant that you respect them as a tenant. In essential, you have to think of your tenants as customer. You want to keep the customer happy, but to a certain extent that doesn't affect you in a negative way. So don't overextend. You gave the tenant 3 months. After that 3 months, if you feel they're taking advantage, that's when you set a boundary as a property manager, landlord. But you want to give those tenants who are good, who do the right thing, who are really good tenants, you want to work with them when they need that. This is what's really going to keep them in for the long haul. This is what's really going to retain them. This is what's going to be the difference between them saying to a friend who's thinking about moving into their building and saying, oh, don't move there. The property manager doesn't really care about their tenants, between they actually really do care. I was in a bind and they helped me. They were understanding. They gave me leniency. So this is the difference between the two. So you want to keep your good tenants happy, but you don't want to overextend to a point it could be detrimental to yourself as a property manager. Lastly, and I say lastly, but last but not least, because I think this one after maintenance is quite the most important. And I think this is really where you can find your residents are leaving. This is really where the retention will come into play. Communication is key. Communication between a tenant and a property manager, landlord is essential. It could be the defining moment of this person saying, I don't want to live here anymore. They never respond to anything I send them. They never communicate back to me. They are unhelpful. I've emailed, I've called, I've texted, I've tried every single communication possible, and they never get back to me. Communication is essential on all levels with your tenants. Communication is the defining moment for them. So for instance, let's say we have Sarah. She is at the point where it's time to renew her lease, but she's looking for a shorter lease. So she's been trying to contact her property manager for the last 2 weeks, and she's gotten no contact, no communication, no response, nothing. So now she's at the point where she's reaching out to other buildings and trying to see if she can find a 6-month lease. So let's say the property manager sends the 12-month lease on schedule because it needs to be sent. It has the time it's supposed to be sent. And Sarah receives the lease. Now she's at a point, well, I'm not signing this. I've tried to reach out for 2 weeks to get this lease amended to 6 months instead of 12. No one has responded, and now you've lost a tenant. You've also lost a good piece of your reputation as a property manager as well, because she's tried to communicate with you and you have not communicated back with her. Or for instance, let's say a tenant has gotten themselves stuck on a roof. This was an example I received once. They got themselves stuck on a roof and they've been trying to call the property management company for the last hour, but no one is answering. Now you have a tenant that is stuck on a roof with a traumatizing experience, and they will probably not renew their lease. So you want to keep communication as open as possible, whether it be for maintenance requests, whether it be for maintenance, whether it be for leasing issues, whether it just be for ransom issues such as oh, I just got a dog and I need to fill out the paperwork, or I need to add an additional person to my lease. Me and my husband just got married. So it could be a lot of different things that a tenant could need, and you not responding nor communicating could really be the break or make it factor for them. It could be the not sign or should I sign factor for them. And that's really important. Communication is definitely key when dealing with tenants. And you also want to be able to have that open and honest communication with them. You want to give them a phone number, you want to give them an email, and you want to maintain that. Let's say you bought a building. To maintain that transition between previous owners and current owners, you want to maintain that communication, because now you can have a lot of tenants that are lost in the wayside and payments are falling behind, maintenance requests are falling behind, leases are out of order. Now, this causes a lot of stress for the tenant and they no longer want to live in that building. So communication is key as a property manager across all aspects, whether it be directly communicating with them, sending generalized messages, dealing with emergencies, dealing with mergers, a lot of different things. And communication is key in all of them. So now I want to take some time to go over some questions. I'm going to see if we have any questions, and we do. But first, I just want to do a quick review of kind of what we talked about. So 6 ways to really retain your tenants. 1, offer fair or below market renewal prices. Don't join in the price gouging of tenants. We understand COVID was hard. It hit the multifamily industry very, very hard. But if you can offer your tenants a fair rate, they will definitely appreciate it. Or if you cannot, also offer a lease renewal incentive. This will also kind of show the tenant that you care, they matter to you, you keeping them as a tenant is important to you, and this is what's essential for you. Thirdly is use a maintenance ticketing system. This is essential. This one I will emphasize forever, because maintenance can really, really be the deciding factor for a tenant. Maintenance issues are the biggest complaint tenants have. You want to be able to effectively really work at them, solve them, and move on from them for the tenant. The tenant shouldn't have to wait around for you to fix the problems and have proper communication. You want to have a system in place that really eases that communication problem. Maintain property appearance. This is very essential. No one wants to walk past leaking roofs. Property tenants want to make sure that their buildings look aesthetically appeasing. They want to come home to a building that looks nice. So this one is definitely essential as well. 5, keep tenants happy, but don't overextend. Do the best you can to really work with your really good tenants, but don't overextend yourself where they will take advantage. Lastly, and most importantly, communication is key. Keep an open line of communication with your tenants at all times. Make sure they can contact you for anything from emergencies to lease questions to payment issues, anything that they need. Make sure they're able to contact you and get in touch with you. Communication can really make or break your tenant property manager relationship. So let's get into this question. I see one really, really good question that I like. I feel the maintenance ticketing will give my tenants more opportunity to complain. How does this help me? So that is actually a very, very, very good question. So I feel like it's quite the opposite. It's quite the opposite. You think you're giving them an opportunity to complain, but you're really giving them an opportunity to be heard. You're really giving them that space. So on the Manage Go system, we allow on the back end for the maintenance team to really set their priorities. Is this high, low, or medium? And on the tenant side, what they're seeing is that their request is always high priority. So they're never seeing you change it. It only changes on the back end. They're never seeing you change it. So for them, it feels like they're being heard. It feels like the issue is high priority. It lets them know, hey, Sarah, I'll be there at 4:30 to fix your sink. It lets them know the job is being done. they can see where the maintenance team is on their request. Is this a long request? Do multiple steps need to happen? Do parts need to be ordered? They can see that. Your maintenance team can say, hi, Sarah, the piece for your sink came in on Tuesday. I'll be there Wednesday at 4:30. This really allows them to see and give them that open communication that we talked about. Communication is key. It allows them to be heard while also maintaining a good communication between the property management team, the maintenance team, and the tenant. And I think it's quite the opposite of what you might think. It definitely won't aid in more complaints, as Sarah will be able to say, hey, John, thanks for updating me on the sink progress. I look forward to seeing you at 4:30 on Wednesday to fix the sink. So I think it's quite the opposite. And I think it allows both for better maintenance and also for better communication. So that is all the questions I received. I don't see any other questions here. So I just want to thank you guys for joining me and really talking about property management and how to really retain your tenants and really give them the service and the time that they deserve. I hope you enjoyed, and this will also be available to watch later on if you missed anything or you just want to rewatch and really take some notes. So thank you everyone so much for attending. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. Bye.